Welcome to my house.
It's my house.
So, stage 3 of the room build. This is where I build my film stuff, or my film cabinet rather. It's gonna go above my desk that I built. This is basically what I have now. That was housing all of my stuff, stood up vertically. 2 shelves. This place down here was like a charging station area. I put all the charging stuff, and then I had a container for that. And now I'm gonna build something so it sits like this. And so I'm gonna try to salvage a lot of these pieces and basically make my thing mostly out of this. I got a couple extra pieces of plywood if I need it, but I'm gonna try to build everything out of this. So we'll see what happens. And then once I'm done, my plan is I'm gonna prime it, and then I want to do the inside red and the outside black, and then the edges black. But we'll see about that. That's an idea. It's very ambitious. I know red is very hard to paint. It doesn't go on very flat. So we'll see what happens. If anything, I might just go crazy with paint and splatter all over it and make it like a cool splatter effect. Paint the whole outside of it black, not worry about the inside, and go from there. So we'll see what happens, but let's go on to the build. Here's basically what I drew up. Measured it all out. Did not at first decide to use this to try to I don't know, take it apart and rebuild on it. I was just gonna buy new plywood, but I figured I'm gonna try this, see what happens. If it doesn't work out, no big deal, I just go buy a sheet of plywood. But that was such good plywood when I used it, and as you can tell, I really made it to last, because put a lot of glue and nails in it. So, and it was damn sturdy. So, but here's the drawing that we came up, or I came up with rather, and I'm gonna execute it, see what happens. So here we go. Third day of building my film shelf. I've got almost every piece cut, but I don't have them all glued together and screwed together. Most people would shoot it with a nail gun. I was just going with screws, because the compressor I have and the nail gun I have, I think the compressor's fine. The nail gun, something's wrong with it, so like you shoot and then the air starts coming in and it's really fucking annoying, and then the compressor has to kick on all the time. So I'd rather just pre-drill and run screws in it and be done with it. So now I'm gonna have to cut one more piece to go on there, sand it a little bit, put it all together, make sure everything's good, make sure everything's square, and then before I put the back on it, I may take it in my room and test fit it to make sure that I'm not wasting my time, but we'll see. So let's just go on to the build. Done. Time to put that last piece in, and then hope that the other stuff is good. pretty much construction 101, but I almost screwed up big time in this project. You got to make sure that if this board is inside of this board, then this board has to also be inside of this board. See, I screwed up and I started to put this on the outside of this, and then I got it all screwed together, and I went in here with the square and I was like, why is it so far out? Then I realized because this was here and this was here, so I got all this glue I'm gonna have to get off and everything else. So just a quick friendly reminder, most people don't make that mistake, and typically I wouldn't make that mistake, but I'm glad that I hit the level, or I hit the square on it to figure it out before I started assembling the entire thing. Then I go to put it on my wall and I wonder why it's all crooked. So, life lesson. Alright, so ironically earlier I stated that don't screw up your edges, make sure that they are aligned correctly or you won't get the perfect square that you wanted. Last night I was extremely tired, and just from working my normal job and then come home and I decided I want to build this, I actually screwed up and I put this piece on the inside instead of being on the outside like it's supposed to be. And it turns out it's going to be a difference of about 1.5 inches, 2 inches in my room, which I still have the space for it, but it threw a little things off. One thing is, this is no longer 24 inches, it's like 22 and some change. This is still the same height, but instead of being on top of it, I got to be in the side of it. I had to trim this piece down and this piece down. This piece I just had to trim down because it actually was cut wrong. This piece I had to trim down because it wouldn't fit in here. It kept hitting the side of this. So, that sucked. But I was able to fix it. I was able to recover from it, and I'm still getting what I want, and my stuff is still going to fit. I went ahead and measured it and make sure of it, so it's still going to fit. So that's good, because for a second I thought I was screwed, and I really didn't want to have to redo this, especially since I haven't paid for any of this wood. I got it from my other one. So, and that's another reason why this has kind of been such a pain in the ass, is because this came from my other one, and y'all saw me take it apart. And so this right here, I had to sand all this and get it off. I had to sand all this. I'm probably gonna have to sand it one more time. Maybe I didn't sand it this part, but I had to sand all the edges off of this and try to get all the glue off, and then all this where the staples were and where the nails were, I had to make it smooth. Even though I was going to the back of the wall, I tried to make sure that every part that I redid is gonna go to the back, so no one's gonna see it. And yeah, so went from there. And where is that piece? It's on this side. So originally this was going to be up against the wall, but because of where these seams came in when I put it together, I decided what I'm going to do anyway. This side's a cleaner side, but I've decided on this side is going to be closer to where my door is. It's going to be above the right side of my computer. I'm actually going to put some 1/8-inch plywood that I had on the back of this originally. It's going to take a piece of it, cut it, and paint it with chalk paint. That way, basically, I just make a big chalkboard. I might put a frame around it just to give it some distinguishing, but I think I'm going to paint the whole thing black anyway. And when I do that, I think the chalkboard paint, it'll just kind of look like it flows, only you can write on one side. But I thought about putting the frame around it so people didn't try to, chalk the whole thing. But I don't think anybody's going to do that, because there's only like 2 people that ever go to my room anyway. So I don't think I have to worry about that. I am thinking about routing some of this, routing the edges once it's all done. I kind of routed it with the sander, but just to try to give it a little more of a uniform feel. But we'll see what happens. So gotta cut this piece and add it, and then I just gotta put the back on it, and then we gotta paint it, and it's done. So this build's been a huge pain in the ass. The desk took me like a day. The other desk I built out of wood that I didn't really need to buy, but I had already bought it, so I went ahead and made the desk, and it worked out pretty well. The shelf was like an hour, and that was easy. This has been the biggest pain in the ass, and I think because I was reusing wood, it was a little bit more difficult. If I would have had just regular wood straight from the start, where I could have just cut it and went, and made life a little bit easier. But you know, I think this way it gives a little bit more character and makes you work for it a little bit more. So on to the next one. So my film thing is all complete. I guess you'd call it my film cabinet, I guess is a good way to say it. It's all complete except for the back. I gotta put the back on it, but this is basically it. And so I've got my lighting's gonna go here, my two bags are gonna go here. I've got just miscellaneous areas to put other stuff and accessories and charging areas and whatnot. And then the back I'm gonna put just a solid piece on it so it can anchor to the wall. And then I'm gonna paint the whole thing black and red. I'm gonna do the inside red, and I'm gonna do black over everything else. So like this will be red, this will be red, this will be red, but the edges will all be black. Hopefully it turns out well. This is what I had in my mind, this is what I pictured, this is what I drew up. And so yeah, so you draw it up, you make sure that every cut is right. Measure 3 times, cut 1 time kind of thing. And don't do like I did and plan for the whole thing to be a certain dimension, and then you kind of screw up a little bit. But that's the great thing about working construction and whatnot. If you screw something up, if you know how to fix it, fix it. If you don't know how to fix it, figure it out. It's not that hard. So yeah, so I just got to put the back on this. I don't really have the wood to put it on right now. I want one solid piece. I don't want to put a bunch of different pieces in here and have them all over the place. I think that would be stupid. So I'm gonna have to buy one piece. So I was able to take my entire thing apart and put it on here. I'm gonna have to buy one piece of wood to put on there. So that's not bad. I can buy like a $25 piece of plywood from Home Depot. So I ended up buying this entire thing for $25. I already have all the paint. I bought a box of screws for $8. So I guess, you know, total of what, $33? So that's not bad. Be able to do all this for $33. So that'd be cool. So the next video you'll see, or when I shoot to the next part, you'll see putting on the back, and then we'll go to paint. So let's jump to that part. Alright, now I'm gonna prime it before I paint it. I just want to go on the record saying that I live in Georgia. It's January 15th and it's currently 70 degrees out here. This is ridiculous. All week it's supposed to be in the 70s. Tuesday is going to be 74 and we're in January. What the fuck? Let's get on with this, I guess. So I've primed most of it. It's a pretty big container here to put everything in, so I primed most of it. I didn't put a real thick coat on because I'm going back over it with a different color. So I just wanted to kind of seal it. So what I'm going to do now is I've done everything but the bottom half because that was a little bit more complicated to get to. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip it over and then do the bottom half and then let it dry and then come back and hit it with my regular paint. And I'm debating whether I want to do the inside first or the outside, and I'm thinking I'm going to do the inside, and the reason for that is because I plan on doing a different color on the edge and trim here, and this is going to be a different color. So if I do this first, I can tape all this off and then really get the detail in there. So we're gonna flip this over and then go from there, and it should be dry enough at least for me to flip it over. So here we go. Pretty much it's dry, so it's time to add the red and black. two paints that I'm going with. And I'm gonna do the red on the inside. And it's pretty awesome. I was picking out the red at Home Depot, and they had a color called 100 mph. So I had to try that. It looked like a pretty good red, but 100 miles an hour. We're gonna try that kind of red. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it turns out well. Just hit my head. That's awesome. Well, I'm not gonna edit that out, so be on there making me hit my head like an idiot. So go ahead and paint this up, see how she does, and go from there. Finally finished everything, both desks, the film cabinet or shelf, whatever you want to call it. The film, it's basically a dresser drawer without the drawers. And then I got my light underneath my shelf. I put a light underneath the film thing, and so we basically have this. And so basically we've got the final product, which is my desk. Use black pipe legs. All my electronics are inside of here for convenience. That way the Xbox and everything else is out of the way. I bought a wireless keyboard to go with my laptop, and I've got my mouse underneath here. My headphones, it's really, when I sit, I look slightly up, which is a lot more comfortable than I was before. My back doesn't hurt. This is the film. I measured everything, so I'd have a big light kit here. And then once everything was said and done, I took the light kit out and decided to put everything else in. All the little knickknacks and stuff. This is all more lighting equipment, and I've got my slide up there and GoPro pole. And then I put in the LED light underneath here. It's only 230 lumen, so if you notice, it only illuminates this area right here and doesn't bleed off into the room, which is what I like. So now I can completely use this countertop, which is what I want. Then I've got my utility table here. Finish and put a piece of plywood on top of it instead of just the 2x6s. And then I bought a vise that I'm not going to screw permanently into the desk because there's no good way to have it on here without it actually getting in the way. So eventually, if I need to, I'll screw into here where I can just drop the bolt in and just temporarily put it down, and then that's it. And then here's the light bar, and it originally came with a chain, and I guess it is made for a utility closet to hang from the ceiling, but I just put these pieces of wood screwed into it and then screwed onto the side. And it's 2300 lumen, so as it makes the camera screw up, this is how bright it is. So when you back up, it is quite bright into the room. So then everything underneath here, with my desk underneath, or the utility table I built, and the shelf underneath, I was able to put anything else. Speaker system that I don't use all the time, GoPro stuff, all this other stuff. And then my shelf up here, I was able to put all my other stuff. The 6-inch gap worked really well. And then my watch thing that I built, put all my my watches and jewelry and stuff, a little valet case. and it actually has LED lights in the back of it. They're just not plugged in right now. So this is the first time ever that I've decided to, from the start, had an idea, wrote it all out, measured it all out, cut it, and it fits on the first try. Didn't have to do anything else, didn't have to shave a little bit off here, any of that kind of crap. It fit first time. So that was awesome, and glad it worked out really well. And I think this whole project, I figured it out, all of this together was like just shy of $300 if I add the vise to it. So yeah, roughly maybe $350 if you add the vise. But all of this done for about $350, and it took me about what do you say, about 2 weeks? About 2 weeks. And so you know, of course, having this already built into something else and me just taking it apart and rebuilding it also helped save a lot of money. I ironically bought all the wood for the utility table and then wanted to build this with it, and then once I started building this, realized that it's going to be too big, and so I built this out of plywood I already had, then built the utility table since I already had the wood. So all in all, this whole room, $350 tops. So not a bad build. So thanks for watching.